Welcome to another episode of Mindful Drawing. We'll jump into a little out of context exercise, not here in the morning, but coming back at the end of the day to check in with the self and bring drawing back into our awareness as a way of relaxing, reintegrating our thoughts from the day, and just, finding a little inspiration here to ease into the evening. I'm not sure what I'll jump into for this drawing, but we're going to grab a nice piece of paper and some pencils and just see where this might go with a fun doodle as we talk through some exercises of integrating the body and the breathing, as well as our hands and eyes here on the paper. So get your paper, your pencil, and come along and draw with me. See you in there. So I think I'll work with here a little bit of a heavy pencil, a little bit of a light pencil, one to allow some flow on the page, and the other just to make some nice lines. But let's start here, put on some soothing music or sounds in the background, and just start to explore what we might find with the drawing. I like to take a nice breath in. We close the eyes for a second as that breath leaks back out again. Breathing in to fill the lungs and the space of the rib cage. Breathing out to let that fall down with a bit of a relaxation. In and out. And after a few of these deep breaths, just to center ourselves here with the eyes closed. Let the hand move across the paper and just find a place to begin entering into the act of drawing. And wherever it begins to feel right, just allow that pencil to touch down here on the page. Keeping your eyes closed if you feel comfortable with that, or bringing them open, and just begin to make a curve or a mark, whichever direction, shape, movement feels right. Allow some flow and swiggle around the page, perhaps extending out and around or coming back towards its beginning, letting the shape be open or closed depending on how you feel in the moment. And after making that first move around the page, taking a breath in and beginning somewhere else along the same curve, start tracking along it, in this time through letting the eyes follow the curve. Let the hand try to track with the eyes, perhaps staying along the curve or drifting off of it as you go, just allowing that communication to develop between the hand and the eye. Here at the ending of the day, we can bring that attention back to our internal connections, to that flow of communication through our nervous system, going from our vision to our hand, and perhaps from our hand to our vision with a little bit of iteration. And taking a breath in and letting it out to recenter for a bit. Again, finding a spot just around the curve and beginning to flow along or around, perhaps oscillating from up against to separate from, bringing your attention as you move with an even pace to the part of your arms that are engaged. Is your hand on the paper or up in the air? Are your fingers engaged or loose or perhaps tight? And make small adjustments in the way you're holding the pencil, the way you might be holding your shoulders or your wrist, just to allow some of that tightness and tension to flow out of your position, but not become unconnected or disconnected from that position and making another pass. Finding engagement, firmness, but suppleness. We don't need to hold too tightly to the pencil in this act of creation, but we need to hold it with a connection that allows the pencil to make its mark and to flow around along the page. And just feeling comfortable with that motion, finding new places to begin to map this territory of the squiggling lines, curves around the page, finding comfort in the position of the arm and the fingers. And if you're engaging this practice in the morning, this is a helpful way to wake up the eyes, wake up the nerves in the hands and the fingers, and connect that perhaps by moving in other directions or with the other hand to the rest of the nervous system to really engage the somatic experience of drawing. And if this is a practice in the evening, this brings the tensions and engagement of those muscles and nerves throughout the day, perhaps typing or sanding, working on models, clicking in the computer, or even just moving around, keeping all of our breath and muscles active. In this way, letting our attention fold into that activeness, being a witness to where it is and a guide to a space of relaxation, space of flow, a space of supple firmness here as we create curves, sinuous forms, and map some of the topographies of our expression. And we can begin to ease our way into a more continuous flow as you have this tracking here on the page, keeping the pencil tip down and just moving along, entering a time and space of connecting now beyond our fingertips and our eyes into our breath, our posture, our being here. Taking a deep breath in as you round a curve and letting it flow out on the next inflection. Connecting yourself through the breaths in and out to the geometry that is emerging here on the paper. Bringing your attention to the speed of the in-breath and the falling of the out-breath. Letting that rise and expansion of the rib cage map to the curvature of your marks. Perhaps a lightness to the pressure as we breathe in and lighten our body with air, and then an intensity of the speed and compression as we let that breath flow outwards from our lungs. On your pacing and cue, finding the places to breathe in and to let that breath out into the space of our geometry. And as these rhythms flow and undulate, pulse in and out with the breath, pulse in and out, the subtle adjustments of the fingertips flow over and around with the tracking of the eyes. We are pulled into this space of the drawing. And entering in that space, we can use it to release some tension in the movement and the flow. Perhaps explore some of the sensations of the curvature and witness how our mind tracks the geometry of the page. And in these exercises, I find myself forgetting my other hand, and that can be brought back into this experience by switching hands or even switching mediums to another type of pencil or pen, or perhaps going somewhere else with your fingertips on charcoal, or just bringing some attention to that hand as you may flex and open them. Continue to breathe in and out with the motion. Here I'm going to switch to a softer pencil, switch to my left hand in this case, and try tracking again these well-mapped, well-traveled forms with a new interface here. A powerful and simple form of exercising the mind to switch hands and let that offhand be the guide for a little while. Letting go of precision, perhaps, or any semblance of intention as that less used arm, less used shoulder and hand in our micro movements of writing and drawing discovers a connection across the body and through the nervous system here as it maps what was created by our more trained connection. As it ignites some new firings of the nervous system here, waking up the other half of your brain, whether that's your right or your left, whichever you may be more prone to work with. Perhaps you have a bit of ambidexterity, starting to use this opportunity to bring some attention to that, to recognize the subtle differences, perhaps just even in the direction of flow here in the drawing. But keeping all of our parts engaged. And if you have been moving in one direction for a while, to switch it up and try the flow in another way. Switch hands whenever you feel comfortable, or whenever the tension begins to build, or the fatigue perhaps expands in the mind when using a hand that you're not as comfortable with, not as familiar with. Make a few more circuits here in the map you've created. This potential track or race course, a place to let out that speed and racing as we bring our breath back into our attention for a couple of paths. In around a curve, out in the inflection, in and out, slowing down that motion, connecting with our more relaxed pace of breathing, wrapping space here. With our breath, with our hand, and with this expression. And as you're continuing to draw, or perhaps taking a little break just to stretch the fingertips, I like to close the eyes and take a few more attentive and in tune breaths in to really expand the back, the shoulders, the rib cage, to stretch the fingers, bring tension with release, expanding them out into that space of tightness, and then breathing into a space of relaxation, just as a momentary check-in, and then bringing ourselves back, choosing whichever pen or pencil you're interested in, and just taking a few moments to have a bit of fun here and see where you might enter into this drawing, perhaps with a little shading or just doodling into the space to allow this opening up of our creativity and opening up of our mind and body to offer us some time for visual expression in the drawing, to just see where it might take us, to doodle in between the spaces, to perhaps connect the wobbles and wiggles, to fill in some gaps or open up some new ones, highlighting what you have discovered there as our attention was less on the outcome and more on the moment or action of completing the drawing. And we can just have a bit of time here to explore what we have. I always find this time of reflection in the drawing where we've created something out on the page and now can interpret and read into it as such a gift and opportunity, something to be very grateful for, in that we can create so much with just some doodles and strange movings of our hands and eyes. Hear the flow, the ribbons, the webbing, and this twisting oscillation of the softness of the lead translating to the hardness of the line, the intensity of the line on the page, expressing this veining, flowing quality, capturing such emotion and intention here in the rings of our awareness. And as all these drawing exercises just bring us some space of peace and centering, hopefully, here for me at the end of a day, or wherever you may be just starting out and preparing to engage with the next tasks, or winding down and entering into a space of relaxation, keeping that paper, pen, and pencil handy so you can take these practices and deploy them when they serve you. You probably have a few off-cycle moments like these over the next few weeks for the holidays as the schedule adjusts with travel and disruptions to the normal tasks of every day. But hopefully you're able to tune in and join them, and we'll be back on a regular schedule at some point in the beginning of the new year. If anyone's interested, right now I'm enjoying some of the sounds from a musician named East Forest through his Bandcamp page. And he has quite a wonderful album that I return to often, where he incorporates some of the interview and teachings of Ram Dass into the development of a series of songs and meditations that help to center me and guide me. And usually doing these live, I don't have the opportunity for the sound to be playing as I'm monitoring participants, but now letting that engage me here in the space of the drawing as I embrace my loving awareness and hopefully share that with everyone else. Thanks for coming along for the ride. Give me a thumbs up below if you like it, and leave some comments on what you've enjoyed from this practice. And I hope you have a wonderful evening or a wonderful morning or just a great day wherever you are. Draw well.